Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are rolling here at Shark Customs. Thought I'd fire out another one for you. Had a few comments, not a whole lot. People haven't been commenting as much as they normally do, but there was a few interesting comments. As you can see, this is the latest build, and you can see, yes, I got the filler on the roof. This is my second chopped roof, so what I can tell you about chopping the roof, like there's so much to talk about these little cars, but on the roof, the way I chop it is I come across the top, I do like a notch, like a square notch. And the reason I do that is because once you cut the 4 posts, I can slide the front and the back apart. And it only, you can see right there, it's only roughly 1/4 of an inch. But what that allows me to do is it allows me to kind of hot glue that square section to the back section to keep it somewhat up in the center. It always, you know, it dips a bit. I use hot glue and popsicle sticks and kind of crazy stuff like that. I put little pieces of popsicle stick on the A-pillars at the front corners to hold it. And then, so after you do your 4 post cuts, you do your center cut, then the rear window does not quite line up from about halfway from the side window to the back window. It starts to curve in, so I end up having to do another radius cut over the back, like this type of thing. If I take the body off and I show it to you, you might be able to see inside there. Probably not. But yeah, so you can see the way this is cut like so. And then we got this cut right around here. And that's just to get the window corners kind of back in place. And it's a little bit of work, you know, fiberglassing it all back together. But yeah, it's looking, this car is looking, it's looking awesome. You got to see it run. That was our, you know, the test run for the chassis. You know, I don't like this. The way this is kind of really tippy. Now, once the back support is in, I covered that over because it kind of wore the fiberglass out. But what I'm thinking to get rid of that is to run some bars down off of the frame here and out underneath the flat part of the running boards. And then I got this cool kind of self-adhesive rubber that I can laminate on both sides here, and that'll just help kind of support the body to the frame. What a lot of the comments, not a lot of the comments, there was just, you know, I get carried away. It's not a lot. Kind of about the drivetrain. You all know I make my own, you know, leaf spring systems. This one we got the cow catcher bar, which I'm gonna try and incorporate some type of not latching or clipping, but just something to kind of go in here for the front. Not too worried about the front moving around. There's a few different ideas how I can do that. But yeah, obviously this frame was designed completely parallel to get the you know, the big fat tires. Now I do have, so yeah, I got some sharp pieces here because I had a bolt tack welded there, but I'm gonna clean that off, like I say, because it wore out the back hole that I had in the trunk where you would put the T-handle for the trunk. Yeah, the vibration, it wears the fiberglass out so fast. So now we've got a block of wood laminated there, and you know, we'll put a new fastener system there with the little T-handle, make it look cool. But yeah, so the chop on this, before I get into the chassis, the chop on this body, basically what I use is I use 3/4 inch tape, and I just, you know, kind of wrap it around where, more where the parallel A-pillars. As far as, you know, in the back, it doesn't really matter. I try and just stay above the bottom of the back window. You could do it like a real chop job on a real car, and you could actually cut out the whole back window, because this back window would have been the thickness of the tape wider. So you could have actually cut the whole window out first, then did the chop job, and then kind of placed that whole back window right back in place, and it would have been just a little less than the side windows and the front window, probably around the size of the front window. But what the 3/4 inch tape translates into quarter scale to 1/1 scale, real scale, is about you're pushing a 4-inch chop job, let's just say. And these fiberglass bodies that I create, you know, I look at those ones and I can already tell that they've had, you know, whoever originally designed them, probably WCM, you know, they already look like they have a small chop on them. Like, they look good. They look good just the way they are, but, you know, and then when you take another 3/4 of an inch out of it, it's chopped. You can definitely see that it's chopped. Looks cool. I think it looks cool. We're going to move on to the chassis, because that's what some of the comments were about. Not just the chassis. This one got a totally different axle in the front. It was so easy to do. I think I kind of showed it in another video. It was pretty easy to do. It worked great in the test running. Had no major body roll. I had no rear. For how narrow the rear is, I had no chatter. But the only problem in the rear of this chassis, so these trailing arms I created with the wheel hubs, is they do got some side to side movement, and if you move far enough, and you saw it in the last video, the axle, that little mini, it's like 2-inch pin to pin, a little mini axle can kind of drop out of there. I don't, they're supposed to have a retainer clip, like a C-clip, on the end. Here, I'll turn it to the right so we can have a look. Yep, there we go. So there's a little groove there. There's a little groove there. And there's a little groove there. And that's for a retainer. Here, there's a clip. There's one on this one. See? If the end of it's bent, it's hard to see. But it's there. It's there. Little ring clip. And it's supposed to have one on each side. But that, I'm not really happy with that little bit of movement. So I'll probably create a trailing bar that goes from the back of the wheel hub with the bearings over to this aluminum plate. I did that on the ruby red hot rod and took away the wheel chatter. I'll probably incorporate that on this. There's a few few more little frame additions. I'm thinking I want to maybe take some of this quarter bar and come down off of the back and kind of come underneath here, like the back of the car. Just for support, not for a bumper. It won't be exposed or anything. It'll be underneath the fiberglass, but it'll just give the body a little more support. Yeah, definitely give the body a little more support. But this chassis ran awesome. So I've also got the way I set up my servos. So this servo here, the tabs, the servo works great. Nothing wrong with the servo. I make this little flat bar system, a couple self-tapping screws into the frame. It's just easier to mount it to the frame without putting, you know, kind of tabs off the side. Well, you couldn't really put, you could put one off there, but this is this system that I come up with these little metal brackets. It's so quick, it's so easy, it's strong, it's stable. So I swiped. We're gonna move on to that, and then the rear servo has this, you know, it's got this crazy kind of bracket on it, which is, you know, this bracket's slotted, so pushing that way gives it the throttle, pulling back pulls the brake lever for the disc brakes down here. And I actually swiped the servo and the bracket from one of my other Rayco cars, which is sitting right here. So yes, I robbed the steering servo and I robbed the throttle brake mechanism, because I figured that was just the quick, easy way to go. As much as I love my Jackrabbit, and I was gonna keep it totally somewhat original, maybe put the knobby tires back on it, maybe put the little skinnies back on it, but I think I got plans kind of like this one sitting over here. You know, that's this motor gearbox was basically out of very similar to this. You know, whether it be a Jackrabbit or it be a super modified. They made so many cars like this, the Grand National. You know, they made quite a few cars with this motor gearbox, upper shock holder setup. They did, you know, they did quite a few different models in this fashion, and to me they're all, you know, they're all pretty much the same. But yeah, somebody had asked me what kind of transmission I was running, and I said, well, it's not really a transmission, it's a gearbox hooked direct to the motor via clutch. Maybe I should have pulled one of these completely apart so you could have a better look at it. But what I will show you about these, here's the name, Rayco, you know, mid-80s, mid-90s, you know, these were probably a class in their own. The way they designed this plastic square, you know, driving gearbox. But I'm gonna show you something. I got the drill here, and we're gonna pull the back cover. We're gonna pull the back cover. We're gonna pull the back cover off of this, because there's something interesting in behind this back cover, which I always thought was pretty cool. So not only is it a gearbox, it is a quick change rear end. Look at that. So you get your two gears. Now Rayco supplied I believe they supplied 7 or 8 gear sets, so you could change the gear ratio on your gearbox depending on, you know, what you were doing with the car. Most of mine, I've got 4 or 5 of these gearboxes. The gear ratios are all pretty much the same, and I have reversed, so you can take this gear, put it to the bottom, and you can put the big gear to the top, but you lose all that, you know, you lose all that that nice torque. But if you could get it up to speed, it would probably go like crazy. But how far are you going to take it to see how fast it can go? These things get out of control real quick, real soon. Like I say, I've always said in my videos, these things are like, these are like just G23s, little 23cc motors, and these things are so, for what they are so overpowered. You know, you've seen it. You see me do donuts with these all the time, donut after donut, and they cook the wheels like there is no tomorrow. So they are way overpowered, you know. I'm thinking if you had half the cc's, you know, if you had 15cc little, like, weed trimmer type motor, it would run these quarter scale cars that weigh approximately, you know, 25, 35, pushing 40 pounds. It would run them just fine for your somebody like me. The reason I say that is because you don't see anybody running these anymore. You know, all these vintage models, whether it be the WCM hot rods or any of the Rayco models, I have searched YouTube high and low, and I am hard pressed to find anybody running any type of quarter scale stuff. Don't get me wrong, there's a handful of stuff out there, but it's few and far between. That's all I'm going to say. You know, if you viewers can find stuff, shoot it my way, because I have searched high and low for the last, you know, half a dozen years looking for this nice quarter scale stuff. Like, I would love to see somebody else running their WCM 1934 hot rod, whether they got a 2-stroke in it or they have actually like a Connelly V8 or something like that in it. I would love to see a video of that thing cruising around. You know, I can't find that stuff. That's why I do what I do. That's why I drive the stuff that I built. And every one of these 34s that I have built to date, every single one is a totally different build. I don't build two the same. They're all built kind of different. Now the components, you know, the motors, the gearbox, some of that stuff is the same, but even, you know, the straight axles, the trailing arms, that all gets repurposed from junk I have laying in my bench or just around the shop. It's like whatever comes to mind at the time, you know, and what bits and pieces I have available. And I do buy, you know, I look for this stuff. I look for the, you know, the Rayco jack, and, you know, Rayco cars mainly. I look for that stuff online. And when I see a good deal on one, I buy it, because I'm not too concerned with the motor, but this gearbox, these gearboxes are awesome. Okay, you've watched all my other videos, you've seen me make my own grinder differentials, and those things, they work awesome too. You know, that's a fact. They work. You know, they work great. Are they as good as something like this? Don't know. I never drove one or used one for an amount of years to know. I just know these, you just keep kind of feeding it grease, you know, and kind of maintain it a little bit, and it's mid-80s, mid-90s. I've been burning the crap out of this one, and hopefully the new owner of This one at least drives it a couple times before he shelves it. Because, yeah, I'm going to say it. That's where most of these end up. They end up on a shelf looking pretty. You know, my cars, yeah, they're on a shelf and they look pretty, but they all get their turn out on the street, you know, in the parking lots, up and down my road. They all get their turns. They do get a little dusty from sitting on the shelf, but we do not call them shelf queens because they're not up there long enough to be classified as shelf queens. I have plans. I was going to keep this one strictly, like I said, as a Jackrabbit because it was my first Rayco car. Unless I come across another one. If I come across another one before I manipulate this one might stay as a Jack. But yeah, that's pretty cool. I wanted to show a couple people that commented what this is. It's just a plastic gearbox, and it's designed pretty much the same as a you know, quick change rear end. You know, shaft comes over the top, shaft goes through the bottom, crown and pinion. You can swap these gears out. You will never find, like I said, Rayco supplied a few different sets of gears for back here, but if you find anybody that has them, they're probably not going to sell them to you. Just because I find people that collect this stuff, they don't give it up that easy. There you have it. A little breakdown on this quarter scale stuff. As you can see, I'll put this one beside this one. You know, same gearbox. Motors are the same now. Pretty sure the red painted cover is a what they would call an original. So a first generation, whether it be a super modified or a Jackrabbit. I'm not 100% on that, but this is the only cover I've ever had that was red. And when I do look on the Rayco RC groups, most of Rayco's early stuff had, it's still a G23, but it had the red cover. And then they switched over to the black covers. Whether that makes a difference or not, I don't think so. You know, it's just a paint color. They're pretty much identical. You know, G23, 23 cc's, but they work freaking awesome. That's all I can say. They work awesome. I can't wait to get this one sanded out, get the frame blown apart, you know, get that stuff all painted, and you know, probably won't be long. Probably be a week, maybe a week and a half. I'll probably be shipping this one out to its new owner. And yeah, there you go. There's some more content for you, man. A little breakdown on, you know. I was gonna say something there and I forgot. Yeah, I rob parts from all different vehicles if I need it, and robbing the parts off of that to get this one up, and you know, so we could actually do some test driving with it, just seemed like the perfect thing to do, you know. Rob from there and put it on here, and works awesome. Works awesome. Little tweaking here and there. The exhaust was blowing right against the shock. You can see all the oil down here. So I'm going to put a little 90, kind of probably drop that straight down off the muffler, just so it blows on the ground and it doesn't get all this, yeah, it doesn't get it dirt. But yeah, we'll get a weight. Once this one is all ready, I got to start weighing these. to see what their weights are. Like that, so far that's not too bad. That's not too bad. We keep them all in that range, that'd be perfect. But there you have it, man. Sharp Customs. You know the routine. Comment some more. Peace. I'm out.